Hello everyone, and welcome to game number 5 in our best of 5 series between Gameslayer, Saberman, and Veivi Cubit32. Game 1 and 4 being picked up by Cubit and Veivi. They had a nice little comeback in the last game, just trimming up that strategy a bit, making sure that it's as elegant as it can be, as fast as it can be in getting its goals done. And Saberman and Gameslayer, they just couldn't quite keep up that time. Did not have the tools available to keep fighting on through, died a bit to power because of maybe their just having a bit more fat attached to that strategy. It wasn't as trimmed down as it needed to be to stay strong. Alright, once again, Cubit is going to be our last to found. He takes up 2 aluminum and he is going after 1 geotherm tile. Gameslayer, he has managed to get a hold of a geotherm as well. And that is adjacent to his colony. Interestingly enough, does he have another geotherm anywhere? I'm not seeing it. I only see these 2 claims. No, I only see this 1 claim for Gameslayer. Where are your other claims, Gameslayer? Here we go. Another one is going to be this aluminum mine. And then we do have another one heading out to this silicon tile. All of our scientists are now HQ level 2, although Saberman, once again, getting there much, much faster. Interestingly enough, Saberman took an aluminum this time, which is very awkward to me, considering I am looking at all this correctly, right? I'm not crazy. This is Saberman and Gameslayer right here. Saberman has a high aluminum this time, and Gameslayer has a high aluminum. That's very interesting to see. Cubit actually rushing the geotherm this time. Like, not even thinking about it a little bit. He just wants that geotherm constructed and making money now. That's what he's going after. And I can't disagree with him. I mean, yeah, you take a little bit of a hit in getting to HQ level 2, but this building's pulling in $146 a second. If we look at all of Gameslayer's stuff put together, first of all, from hitting HQ level 2, it's doing nothing yet, because none of it was built. Now the glass is online. That's 40 apiece. The patent office is coming up, but he's still going to have to push into this geotherm before too long because he's just not making enough money. He's still accruing debt this whole time. He's up at 15,000 almost. I'm wondering if he founded too early and actually founded with debt without me noticing it. I could definitely see that happening this game. On top of that, he's got a lot of fuel consumption for shipping from so far away. Whereas Cubit, he's not going to have this problem. And Gameslayer, well, he's pushing into that patent office as fast as he possibly could, but is he going to have the money to actually work it? And the answer so far is yes. Oh wow, he's actually working it and it's goon squatted. So it's just faster and faster and faster each game, it seems. Cubit's patent office only just now coming online, but he doesn't get superconductor. That's guaranteed. And let's see. Let's see if this is goon squatted. It is not goon squatted. That's interesting. That is very interesting. And Gameslayer and Saberman can probably guess at that because this goon squad on the geotherm went down very quickly. They have the only other goon squad on their patent office. So they can maybe guess that this thing is vulnerable to a power surge. And that's going to be very, very important to do if they can get it done. I mean, but looks like Veivi is the one who grabbed the power surge. Oh man, maybe offering just a bit too much respect for their opponents, not paying enough attention to what's actually happening this game. That could have been the biggest move of the game if they could have pulled off a power surge onto that building. Instead, they're going to get their own geotherm frozen out. Superconductor is doing nothing for them for the next 90 seconds, and that is going to cause a big, big problem for Gameslayer and Saberman going forward, I think. Pirates are available once again this game. Farms have been picked up by Saberman. He is going to be trying to pull in that nice farm money for his team. Should be pretty successful with it. No excuse for not having solar panels down this game. Here they come for Gameslayer. Cubit hasn't moved into any himself just yet, and obviously with superconductor. Ooh, I'm actually really concerned about Cubit here. Yes, he has 2 pleasure domes, and I guess they are pulling in a lot of money already with that virtual reality, but without any power. I mean, they're not as profitable as one might expect here. Just with that ridiculous power cost attached to them. They are not nearly as strong as even his geothermal plant is right now, and they're making money, but I do wonder if there was something better Cubit could have done with those tiles immediately. Maybe just taken 1 pleasure dome and then moving into extra power elsewhere would have been an option. Maybe even just one solar panel, maybe scrap the aluminum, move into 2 solar panels. All of these would have been options. Regardless, let's see. Is Cubit using the patent office? Yes, he is. He's got perpetual motion on the way. That is going to be super important in this game. That's going to take an entire power away from his costs in pleasure domes alone, which is going to be a very big deal. Whereas Gameslayer, you can kind of see that Gameslayer and Saberman are not making money right now. Their patent office is not staying active. They don't have anything else really pulling in great cash just yet that they can actually utilize. And Cubit, well, he's making enough money that he has pushed on up to headquarter level 4. Still no power coming online out of Cubit here. That's very aggressive. As you can see, these pleasure domes, they're just making less and less money by the moment, effectively, as this power cost continues to rise. Gameslayer's geotherm still frozen out, and I don't believe has been goon squatted yet. Likely would be worthwhile to get done, considering how much cash it's pulling in. But look at this money. Look at this money pouring in for Gameslayer now. That is going to tear through his debt in mere moments. And oh, here we go. This is important. Cubit has managed to push into solar panels. I do not see, and we can see also that Veivi was actually in solar panels this whole time, but they weren't pulling in any money for him. Cubit, though, he's going to be making cash from that. That's very, very important. So Gameslayer pulling in about 1,200 a second at the moment. Cubit significantly less, like way, way less. He's actually just scrapped out of it almost immediately. Tried to get the money where he could and then moved away as soon as he can. Silicon was so cheap that should have been an effective move for him regardless. Long term though, Gameslayer still with that superconductor. It was a nice boost for them. Gameslayer, it looks like, can catch up in upgrades if he wants to. But it is worth paying attention to the fact that Veivi, he's kind of breaking the mold this game with these solar panels. He has about 50k less debt than Saberman does, and so he is much more expensive to purchase, and he will be able to stay alive a lot more effectively this game. We could see an actual situation of a 3v1 coming up for the first time in quite some time. I'm also very concerned about the fact that Gameslayer, he does have 2 claims left, but he has not done anything about pleasure domes just yet. There they go. I'm going to start trying to actually fight that pleasure dome fight, but that may have stuck around for way too long. As much power money as Gameslayer was able to pull in, this entertainment cash from Cubit has gotten absolutely massive. As Gameslayer's just sat around not responding to it, getting up these reactors and such, getting up these chem labs before prioritizing the pleasure dome to knock down his opponent's cash. I'm also unsure about that pleasure dome placement. Might have preferred it to come down over here. Regardless, it's good to see that happening, but as you can see, Gameslayer and Saberman are just running behind. This entertainment money has allowed Cubit to purchase up most of Saberman. He only needs 65,000 to finish it off. He's currently got about 35 of that going on. So he's like halfway there. And that means Gameslayer is nowhere near actually taking down Veivi, and Cubit's just decided, well, fine. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to just start buying Gameslayer. Because what are you going to do about it? It's a very nice little move from Cubit. Definitely like seeing something like that. Cubit has the cash. He is going to go ahead and take over Saberman. Got a whole bunch of iron mines and water pumps to his name, which should still get something done. I mean, $49 and $68 isn't bad prices for those for the moment. But of course, none of the scientific benefits happening this game. Gameslayer, once again, looks like he is going to be the first one to manage to push to an off-world market. That is not hologram, but it is goon squatted. Cubit hasn't made any moves that direction just yet, but I don't think he really cares. Cubit wants to push this one shorter. He's got that hacker array rolling. He knows that Gameslayer doesn't have any food production, so he's just got that hack going. Food's only coming up just now from these farms. Cubit should be able to commit literally everything he has to that, little as that may be, at this point, and get some decent use out of that shortage. I am concerned about the fact that he only has 3 farms down while this hack is going, and doesn't have a serious amount of food stored up. I even wonder, are we going to see food launches here? Yeah, we are. Food launches up at 400. Once again, the off-world, not all that great this game. Electronics does need to be paid attention to, up at 470. So it's actually going to be a valuable launch, despite its ridiculously high price. This hacker ray is not going the way it should have gone for Cubit, in my opinion. He could be using this a lot more effectively. The food shortages are a nice idea, but we'll need to see him actually use that shortage before long. Especially considering food is not the only off-world item, and electronics are definitely available. He needs to actually make sure to use these shortages. Still though, we are looking at 3 headquarters to 1, and I don't know what Gameslayer is going to be able to do to fight back from that this game. That might just be way too far gone in order to stay alive in everything. So always just somebody disrespecting a resource and it causing so many problems. It looked like Cubit and Veivi were gonna have that issue, but they managed to get their solar panels up just in the nick of time to grab up plenty of money, bring that price crashing down so Gameslayer couldn't grab up all the cash from that. Veivi even helping out, paying down some of his debt, but most importantly, knocking down that power price, which suddenly made their early Pleasure Dome play fantastic. Forced a response from Gameslayer which never came until HQ level 5, and that gave Cubit such a ridiculously large edge that it took that scientific headquarter away from Gameslayer and put them in an absolutely fantastic spot, quite frankly. I do wonder, here's something that I would love to see if we ever got to this point in a different game. I would have loved to see them give this HQ over to Veivi. I think that would have been absolutely fantastic because realistically, if you're building things like farms, it's much better for the scientific player to be the one to do it. So that could have been really interesting to see because that you share that stock purchase. So theoretically, you could give it to either player. And if you think you're trying to keep Veivi alive, if you want to keep Veivi alive like they are this game, that could have been really interesting to see. Now, that said, there is no problem, and it is a lot safer to let Cubit take the buy, because as we can see, look guys, this game is over. I'm not gonna BS you guys about it. I would say this one is done. I don't see Gameslayer pulling it back. We've got a massive stock disadvantage, a massive tile disadvantage, a significant patent disadvantage, I would say, with carbon scrubbing and virtual reality being some reasonable patents that have gone Cubit's way. Gameslayer just having that thinking machines and financial instruments working in his favor. And while those are good, I don't think they're going to make up the difference this time. On top of that, Gameslayer, like, he doesn't have an off-world advantage anymore either, from what I can tell. Just the one off-world shipping chems, which we know isn't going to be all that great. Just about an 18k profit off of those. Not what you're looking for. Cubit already heading into that second off-world. I think it's about time for Gameslayer to bow out. But Gameslayer is going to try and hold on. He is not one to give up. High aluminum auction. Going to nobody. Makes sense. Aluminum's at $47. Everybody has aluminum tiles if they want them. Veivi is getting defended now. So Gameslayer, he's trying to find his edge, some way to get back into this game, but let's see. He's going to need 125,000 to finish off Veivi. He's not quite there yet. He's trying to work his way there, but he will need to make a fair amount more cash before he can actually pull that off. So I'm still very concerned about where he's at this game. Also trying to make steel, but without any iron available. That's going to prove difficult. His opponents have all the iron at this point in the game, so even if he manages to make steel, it's not going to be great. And if he knocks the price all the way down, his opponents can just transition into the iron very, very easily. Let's see. Let's check and see where we're at with Cubit. So Cubit is going to need, right now, $400,000 to finish up this game. I imagine that's going to go up to something like $600,000 by the time all is said and done. But it still should not be a very difficult thing for him to pull off. Cubit's going to play it safe for now. Gameslayer has managed to secure Veivi's headquarters, and so he will be able to make that steel. Very, very nice for him. I would like to see him transition away from his own steel, maybe into some glass, maybe into some electronics instead. Would have really liked to see some engineering labs come down at some point with prices this high for either player. This is the kind of game where you go for that, I think. If you're gonna push it long, then commit to pushing it long. But I still don't see Gameslayer pulling it off. He still has so much stock he needs to purchase. Realistically, Cubit needs to acquire 8 of Gameslayer's stock. Gameslayer needs to acquire, at this moment, 15 of Cubit's stock. So 8 to 15, that's a very, very, very wide gulf, especially when stock prices are so different. On top of that, Cubit has the Offworld edge here. He's got the headquarters advantage still, 5 and 5 to 5 and 3. He's got the virtual reality advantage. Superconductor is doing absolutely nothing at this stage of the game. I don't see it happening for Gameslayer. Cubit also has the cash advantage. Although he is consistently finding ways to throw that money away somehow. I think it's probably all these transitions that have been going on. This is why I love to see nanotech coming out. I think nanotech has been disrespected over the course of this tournament. We did see Gameslayer get it once, and he easily walked away with the game where he was in it. Not super easily, but he did pull it off. I would really like to have seen a commitment to picking up that tech in particular. And you can tell that Cubit, he's not really making steel. He's having difficulty finding an effective way to do so, and so each and every transition he makes is slowing him down significantly. But nonetheless, he is continuing to play it safe. He does have 6 of his own stock secured. And I don't see him being able to actually do anything that would cause him to lose this game outright. More transitions coming down. That steel price is so ridiculous. How did you guys do that? Just insane. You can also see, though, these steel mills, they're still making a lot of cash, but that iron price is getting pretty nuts. Already up to 124, and I imagine it's going to continue to rise for the time being. Electrolysis transition coming down, moving into more glass. I mean, that's all fine. It's also going to come down to this hacker array that Gameslayer has potentially. That is a very useful tool if it's being used effectively, but right now it's sitting idle. I'm sure there's something Gameslayer could be doing with that to work to his advantage. As an example, if he thinks he's set up well, move into nanotech, short steel like crazy, and just leave it there. Leave that steel shortage. Don't move into any more off-worlds in this kind of game. Just keep abusing that dynamite wherever you have the opportunity to. I mean, Cubit does have 4 off-worlds online. And then maybe you can actually pull through it. But with 4 off-worlds, I'm just saying, 4 off-worlds? That's a ridiculous number.
Off-world shipment launched.
All right, Cubit. I think we can be done buying our own stock by now.
Look at all the money.
I'm just throwing it out there. Like, Gameslayer's going to start buying up your stock, and that's all well and good. Gameslayer has successfully made quite a bit of money at this point, I do want to point out. But, unfortunately, because of stock being the way it is, he needs $1.5 million to close out this game. Cubit needs 720, so less than half is what Cubit's going to be looking at. And with these 4 off-world markets online,
look at all the money.
With these 4 off-world markets online, I don't see things going wrong for Cubit at this point. Hey, committing to the late game is one thing. Dragging things out to an unnecessary length is another. I'm just saying. And I feel like we've definitely pushed over into that second territory by now. Look at these off-world launches, though. This is hilarious. This is what these guys have done to prices by now. Oh, man. Have we killed this game? I think we killed the game. The game died. Oh, that's fantastic. Did the game actually die on us? Oh, that's hilarious. Or did just Cubit die on us? That would be even more hilarious. Look at these off-worlds not moving. We're not producing any resources? Oh, that's fantastic. Look. The game got tired of Cubit's nonsense, and it decided Cubit wasn't able to make anything anymore. That's hilarious. That's what you get, Cubit. Really? Is Gameslayer stuff not building? Gameslayer's still making resources, though. I don't know if they can see what I have to say, but there's no question Cubit had it won, to my mind. Look, if these guys want to go through Game 5 again...
The black market.
On the other hand, Cubit's been playing around for so long, maybe Gameslayer could have pulled it out. Maybe. But I don't think so. Because, especially if we count that Cubit should have way more cash than he does right now after all this production. I know they're not making anything. Look, guys, this one is actually really hard to call, and I don't know if I'm comfortable doing it because Cubit danced around for so long, and there's no question Gameslayer played out the late game better. But I'm not going to give it... I'm definitely not giving it to Gameslayer. There's no question about that in my mind. Gameslayer doesn't get this win. But was Cubit doing well enough to take it? I guess we do technically have official Crash rules. All right, we're going on to match number 6, guys. Gameslayer, I don't agree you had that 1-1. For one thing, you guys are all doing all of your math after resources started being sold. You definitely didn't have that 1-1. I'm not even going to say I don't think. You definitely didn't have that 1-1 at that point. If resources had been getting sold, if consumption had continued in that way, prices would have adjusted. You can't do the Offworld math based on what it was at that moment. Offworlds were weak at that point, yes. However, you had a very wide gap still when the game started crashing out. And that includes less cash and a way higher stock price you needed to push to. So I cannot say you had it won. However, that said, I can't say Cubit had it won either.